Welcome, deep divers. Today, we're not just dipping our toes into history.
Yeah.
We are plunging deep, right into the icy, legendary depths of the North Atlantic. We're exploring a name that, well, it still sends shivers down the spine, doesn't it? A vessel synonymous with both, like unparalleled luxury and just unimaginable disaster. The RMS Titanic.
Absolutely. And the question, the one that's captivated generations and, continues to do so, it's simple, but it's profound.
Yeah.
How did this ship, this marvel of engineering hailed as unsinkable, how did it meet such a catastrophic end on its very first voyage?
Exactly. That's the core of it.
Indeed. And this deep dive, it isn't just like a simple retelling of what happened. Our mission today is really to unpack the entire saga.
The whole thing.
The whole thing, not just as a timeline, but as this really complex and often tragic interplay of human ambition, technological hubris, unforeseen circumstances, and these pivotal decisions made right in the heat of the moment in crisis.
Right. Decisions that had huge consequences.
Huge. We're going to trace its journey from, the grand vision behind its creation, its perceived invincibility.
That whole unsinkable myth.
Right through the precise chain of events, the human choices that led to its sinking, and maybe most poignantly, the devastating human cost.
And we absolutely won't stop there. We'll also dig into the decades-long, often frustrating quest to actually find it.
Which was a saga in itself.
Totally. And crucially, what modern science finally revealed about its demise, because, as you'll find out, it shattered so many, well, long-held assumptions about how it sank.
And beyond the wreckage itself, we'll explore how this single tragedy fundamentally reshaped maritime safety for generations to come, creating a legacy that, saves lives even today.
Yeah, the safety aspect is huge.
And finally, its powerful ongoing legacy in popular culture, in scientific exploration. It just doesn't go away.
No, it really doesn't.
So this isn't just a simple historical recounting. Instead, what we're doing is dissecting a whole stack of sources, articles, extensive research, historical accounts, even eyewitness testimonies.
Getting right into the details.
Exactly. To give you, the listener, those aha moments, helping you quickly grasp the crucial insights and honestly some often surprising facts behind this legendary event. So let's unpack this epic story.
Okay, let's start right at the beginning. The genesis of this giant, the sheer ambition that brought the Titanic into existence. Now, the early 1900s, this was like a golden age for transatlantic travel, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was an incredibly profitable industry, a booming enterprise, really. And it fueled this fierce competition dominated by two shipping titans, the White Star Line and the Cunard Line.
The big two.
The big two. And this wasn't just about moving people across the ocean. It was about national pride, prestige, commercial supremacy. It was huge.
You could almost call it an oceanic arms race, couldn't you?
That's a great way to put it. Cunard had really thrown down the gauntlet with their new liners, the Lusitania and the Mauretania.
Famous names themselves.
Very famous. Magnificent ships, yes, but their real edge, their innovation was speed. They were built to be the fastest, and they proved it. Set new records crossing the Atlantic, snatched that coveted blue ribbon.
The blue ribbon, right? The speed trophy?
Exactly. They got immense attention, signaling Cunard's intent to dominate, really focusing on sheer velocity as their competitive advantage.
So White Star Line, led by their chairman, J. Bruce Ismay, he was pretty shrewd, I gather.
Very. He wasn't about to let Cunard just run away with it. He reportedly met with William Peary, who controlled the Belfast shipbuilding firm Harland and Wolff.
The builders.
The builders, the very company that had built most of White Star's existing fleet. And their counter-strategy, it wasn't about speed. No, they aimed for something, well, grander, more comfortable, ultimately far more opulent.
Comfort over speed.
Precisely. They decided to prioritize unparalleled luxury and scale over sheer speed. They envisioned this new class of massive liners that would completely redefine sea travel.
And this audacious plan, it led to the decision to build not just one, but three colossal vessels.
Three of them, the Olympic, the Titanic, and the Britannic. It just speaks to the staggering scale of their ambition, doesn't it?
It really does.
The keel for the Titanic was laid on March 31st, 1909. That was just 3 months after work began on her sister ship, the Olympic.
So close together.
Very close. And what's truly remarkable when you look at the old photographs is that these two gargantuan ships were built side by side in this specially constructed gantry, an engineering feat in itself, a testament to their unprecedented size in an era where size was prestige.
And the chief designer, Thomas Andrews of Harland and Wolff, he poured everything into these ships, didn't he?
Every ounce of ingenuity, artistry, making them not just big, but spectacularly luxurious. I mean, when you read the descriptions from the time,
Yeah.
it's breathtaking, almost cinematic.
Like what? Give us some examples.
Okay, we're talking ornate decorations everywhere. The
Yeah.
towering grand staircase, the one with the glass dome, elaborate wood paneling, gilded accents.
Sounds incredible.
An immense first-class dining saloon that could seat hundreds. 4 elevators, which was really cutting edge at sea back then. A squash court, a Turkish bath, even an indoor swimming pool.
A swimming pool on
Yeah.
a ship in 1912.
Yep. This wasn't just a ship, it was like a floating palace.
Right.
And it wasn't just first class who got the good stuff either. The second class accommodations on the Titanic, reportedly comparable to, maybe even better than, first class on many other liners.
Really?
Yeah. They had their own promenade deck, a library, well-appointed cabins, and even third class, mostly for immigrants. It was noted for relative comfort compared to the usual steerage conditions. Proper beds, shared dining rooms, open deck space.
So it wasn't just the rich folks benefiting.
Exactly. It set the stage for the ship's grandeur and its appeal across all passenger classes, which sort of contributed to this idea of it being a truly democratic marvel in a way.
Okay, so you have this incredible luxury, the scale, all wrapped up in this perceived cloak of absolute invincibility. This is where we get to the unsinkable myth, right? Which is just so tragic in hindsight.
Deeply ironic. The Titanic was heralded for its safety features. It boasted 16 compartments, these sections often called watertight, with doors that could be closed remotely from the bridge, designed to contain water if the hull was breached.
16 compartments. Sounds impressive.
And the builders proudly claimed that even if 4 of these compartments flooded, the ship could still maintain buoyancy. It would stay afloat.
4. That was the magic number.
That was the claim. And that claim, that design, it directly fed into this widespread public and builder perception that the Titanic was, well, for all intents and purposes, unsinkable.
But there's always a but, isn't there?
There is. And here's the truly shocking detail. The single design choice that ultimately sealed its fate. The fundamental flaw behind the unsinkable myth.
Okay, what was it?
While these bulkheads, these dividing walls, were indeed presumed to be watertight in their lower sections, they were critically not capped at the top.
Wait, not capped, like
Yeah.
open at the top.
Exactly, like an ice cube tray. It meant if enough water flooded into one compartment, it could simply spill over the top of that bulkhead and cascade right into the next one.
Oh my God.
Then the next and the next, eventually compromising the entire ship. It wasn't just a design flaw. It was, looking back, a ticking time bomb built right into the heart of the ship, masked by confidence.
That detail about the uncapped bulkheads is horrifying, especially knowing what happens later. So after the hull and superstructure were done, they launched it May 31st, 1911.
Right. A huge spectacle, thousands watched. Then came the fitting out phase, meticulous work installing machinery, engines, finishing those lavish interiors we talked about.
They even made some tweaks after the Olympics' first voyage.
Yeah, slight changes, fine-tuning what they thought was, maritime perfection.
And then the sea trials, early April 1912.
Yep. Put through its paces, declared seaworthy, passed with flying colors, and its scale was just monumental for the time. 882.5 feet long, 92.5 feet wide. Gross registered tonnage of 46,328 tons, displacing over 52,000 tons fully loaded.
Hard to even picture that.
It was, without doubt, one of the largest, most opulent ships in the world. A proud symbol of the industrial age. Ready for what everyone expected to be a triumphant, uneventful maiden voyage.
And what a departure it must have been. April 10th, 1912, Southampton, England, heading for New York City.
A journey expected to take about 6 days, nicknamed the Millionaire's Special.
Right, and the captain was Edward J. Smith, the millionaire's captain, popular with the wealthy passengers.
A veteran mariner, highly respected, and the passenger list. It really was a who's who of the era, a true cross-section.
Like who? Any names that stand out?
Oh, yeah. Prominent American businessman Benjamin Guggenheim, the British journalist William Thomas Stead, Isidor Straus, co-owner of Macy's, and his wife Ida.
The ones who famously stayed together.
That's them. And J. Bruce Ismay, the White Star chairman, he was on board. Thomas Andrews, the designer, he was there too. A testament to how important this voyage was.
So the bigwigs were there, but also
Hundreds of immigrants in third class, dreaming of a new life in America. It was this incredible mix, from the super affluent in first class down to those seeking opportunity.
Now, I heard the voyage almost started with a disaster right at the dock.
That's right. A subtle, but yeah, significant foreshadowing. As the Titanic pulled away in Southampton, its immense size created such powerful suction.
Suction. from the propellers.
Yeah, displacement of water. It actually broke the mooring lines of a nearby docked liner, the New York. It swung out, nearly hitting the Titanic.
Go away.
Yeah. Took over an hour of maneuvering by tugboats to prevent an accident. It was this early, visceral sign of the ship's massive scale and the potential handling challenges it posed, even just leaving port.
Wow. A close call right from the start.
A poignant foreshadowing, really, of how its scale could also be a vulnerability. After that hour delay, they were finally properly underway. Evening of April 10th, first stop, Cherbourg, France.
Dock too small, right? Had to use tenders.
Exactly. Predictably too small for this behemoth. Passengers ferried back and forth, and more prominent figures boarded there. John Jacob Astor, the American financier, super wealthy, with his pregnant wife Madeline, and Margaret Molly Brown.
The unsinkable Molly Brown.
The very same. Socialite, philanthropist, activist, would later become a hero of the disaster.
So after Cherbourg,
Next morning, April 11th, final European stop. Queenstown, Ireland. Now known as Cobb, a big port for Irish emigrants.
last stop before the open Atlantic.
That's it. Around 1:30 p.m. that day, with about 2,200 people on board, roughly 1,300 passengers across all classes, the Titanic set sail for New York City. Out into the vast open ocean. For many, the voyage of a lifetime. For some, their last.
Okay, so the voyage is underway. Smooth sailing initially.
Pretty much. But as they crossed the Atlantic, the wireless radio operators, Jack Phillips and Harold Bride, they worked for the Marconi Company, not White Star directly. They were swamped.
Swamped with what?
Relaying passenger messages, sending telegrams back home for the wealthy passengers. That was actually their main job for Marconi, not necessarily ship-to-ship safety stuff.
So passenger convenience over safety comms.
Right.
Seems backward.
It was the priority set by their employer. But amidst this flood of private messages, they were receiving numerous iceberg warnings from other ships.
Okay, so warnings were coming in.
Yes. Most were passed along to the bridge. But here's where a critical failure happens. A really crucial warning on the evening of April 14th.
This is where it starts to go wrong, isn't it? The human decisions, the circumstances.
Exactly where they tragically converge. Around 9:40 p.m. on the 14th, a ship called the Masaba sends a warning. A large ice field directly in their path.
And did I get it?
They got it in the wireless room. But crucially, it was never relayed to the bridge, just placed under a paperweight. Forgotten.
You're kidding. Under a paperweight.
That's the account. Then, about an hour later, 10:55 p.m., the nearby Leyland liner Californian, it had actually stopped for the night because it was surrounded by ice.
So they knew there was ice right there.
They sent a direct warning to the Titanic, we are stopped and surrounded by ice. Pretty clear message.
Yeah, seems clear enough.
But Phillips, the Titanic's operator, overwhelmed, exhausted, dealing with that backlog of passenger messages. He basically told the Californian operator to shut up, scolded him for interrupting, cut off the vital warning.
He told him to shut up while receiving an ice warning.
The accounts say he replied something like, "Keep out, shut up, I am busy." It's shocking.
That is unbelievable. So warnings ignored or actively dismissed. What else was happening?
Well, you have a compounding series of factors, a real perfect storm. Captain Smith had, at some point, slightly altered course southward, likely trying to skirt the known ice area. But crucially, he maintained speed, around 22 knots, incredibly fast for an area where ice had been repeatedly reported.
Why? Why not slow down? Pride. Schedule.
Combination of factors, likely. Confidence in the ship, pressure to make good time on the maiden voyage, and honestly, it just wasn't standard practice back then to slow down significantly for ice warnings unless ice was actually sighted. Hubris played a part.
And the lookouts. What about them?
Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee in the crow's nest. They faced extra challenges that night. The ocean was unusually calm, like glass.
Which sounds nice, but
But it made icebergs incredibly hard to spot. Normally, you'd see water breaking at the base, white foam, ripples. Not that night, just black water against a black iceberg.
okay, so visibility was bad because it was too calm. Weird.
And compounding that, in a shocking oversight, the crow's nest's binoculars were missing.
Missing.
Locked
Really?
away, apparently, and the key was misplaced or left ashore with an officer who was transferred off the ship at the last minute. So the lookouts were relying solely on their naked eyes.
Yeah.
In the dark. On a moonless night.
No moon, calm sea, no binoculars, warnings ignored. This is just lining up for disaster.
A tragic confluence set the stage perfectly. So around 11:40 p.m., 400 nautical miles south of Newfoundland, an iceberg is finally sighted, dead ahead.
By Fleet and Lee.
By Fleet. He immediately rang the warning bell 3 times, phoned the bridge. Iceberg, right ahead.
What happened on the bridge?
First Officer William Murdoch was in charge. He acted swiftly, ordered hard to starboard,
Which means turn.
turn the ship to port, to the left, away from the berg. And simultaneously, he ordered the engines reversed, full astern.
Trying to stop and turn. Makes sense.
Seems logical in the moment. The Titanic began its slow, ponderous turn, but it was too close. Too big, too fast, within seconds. That scraping sound. The starboard side grazed the submerged part of the iceberg.
Not a head-on crash.
No, a glancing blow, but instead of one long gash like people thought for years.
Yeah, the movie version.
Right. Modern analysis shows it was more like a series of thin gashes, brittle fracturing of the hull plates, rivets popping, seams separating in multiple places along the hull.
Brittle fracturing, like the steel itself failed.
That's a major part of the modern understanding, yes. The cold water potentially made the steel more brittle, but the result was it ruptured at least 5 of those supposedly watertight compartments toward the bow.
5. And the magic number was 4.
Exactly. 5 compartments breached. More than the ship was designed to handle.
This is where Thomas Andrews, the designer, comes in, right? He was on board.
Yes. He went down immediately with Captain Smith to assess the damage. He knew that ship better than anyone. His determination, based on the water flooding those forward compartments. It was grim. Utterly conclusive.
What did he say?
As the forward compartments filled, the bow would drop deeper. And because of that critical design flaw, those uncapped bulkheads.
The water would spill over.
Like water over an ice cube tray. Into the next compartment, then the next. He told Captain Smith, unequivocally, the Titanic would founder, it was going to sink, there was no saving her. Mathematical certainty.
Wow, just like that. How long did he estimate?
An hour, maybe 2. A death sentence for the ship.
And you mentioned Murdoch reversing the engines.
Yeah.
This is a counterintuitive point there.
Yes, fascinating and profoundly tragic in retrospect. Expert analysis now suggests that by reversing the engines, Murdoch actually slowed the ship's turning rate.
Slowed the turn. How?
Changed the water flow around the rudder, making it less effective. Most experts now believe if he had just ordered hard to starboard and kept the engines going forward, or even just stopped them, the ship might have turned slightly faster. Or, even more counterintuitively, if they had hit the iceberg head-on.
A direct impact. Wouldn't that be worse?
You'd think so. But the bow was structurally much stronger, designed for that kind of impact. It might have crushed the first couple of compartments, maybe killed people right at the front, but the damage likely would have been contained. The ship itself probably would have stayed afloat, severely damaged, but afloat.
So the instinct to avoid the iceberg by turning and reversing might have actually doomed them.
It seems likely. A decision made in a split second, under immense pressure, that had the opposite effect intended. Highlights how quickly things can spiral. A crucial, fatal decision in that moment of crisis. A huge part of why it sank.
Okay, so the assessment is grim, the ship is sinking. What happens next?
Captain Smith, facing this reality, orders Phillips to start sending distress signals. The CQD, and later the newer SOS signal, out into the night.
Trying to reach help.
Desperately. Around 12:20 a.m., April 15th, one of these faint signals reaches the Cunard liner Carpathia. Captain Arthur Henry Rostron immediately changes course, heads full speed towards the Titanic.
The rescue ship?
Yes, but there's a devastating time factor. The Carpathia is 58 nautical miles away. Pushing its engines to the absolute limit, it would still take over 3 hours to get there.
3 hours, and Andrew said maybe 2 hours left.
Exactly. A race against time they were already losing.
Any other ships nearby?
Others responded, including the Olympic Titanic sister ship. They were all much too far away, hundreds of miles.
Yep.
And then there's California.
Ah, the controversial one. The ship that was stopped in the ice.
The tragic, almost unbearable irony. By all accounts, the closest vessel, possibly even within sight. But its wireless was off for the night, the operator asleep.
Off. They turned it off.
Standard practice for many single-operator ships back then once they'd signed off. They did see lights from the Titanic, rockets being fired, but they couldn't contact it by Morse lamp and didn't wake the wireless operator.
So help was potentially right there, but deaf and blind to the signals. Agonizing.
Close, yet so agonizingly far. A ship of hope on the horizon rendered useless.
While the distress calls are going out, they start launching the lifeboats.
Yes, the orders were women and children first. But this is where the sheer heartbreaking tragedy becomes painfully clear, and where we really get a sense of how many people died.
Because there weren't enough boats.
Fundamentally, yes. The Titanic had 20 lifeboats, which, believe it or not, actually exceeded the number required by the British Board of Trade regulations at the time.
Exceeded, but still not enough.
The regulations were based on the ship's tonnage, not its passenger capacity. Totally outdated. Those 20 boats, even if perfectly loaded, could only carry 11,178 people.
Okay, 1,178 capacity.
And there were approximately 200 people on board.
Oh my God. So even in a perfect scenario, nearly half the people were doomed from the start. On the safest ship ever built.
Horrifyingly simple math. Not enough seats. But the problem got much, much worse.
Oh.
Another series of human errors, miscommunications, crippling fears. The lifeboats were launched well below capacity. Many of them were practically half empty.
Why? Why launch them half empty?
Crewmen, mostly inexperienced, operating in darkness and increasing panic. They worried the davits, the crane-like things lowering the boats, couldn't support the weight of a full boat.
What could they?
Yes. They'd been rigorously tested in Belfast. They were perfectly capable of holding fully loaded boats, but the crew didn't know or didn't trust it in the moment.
And wasn't there something about a lifeboat drill?
Another crucial failure. Yes. The Titanic had canceled its scheduled lifeboat drill earlier that same day. Captain's decision? Reasons unclear, maybe didn't want to disrupt the passengers on the Sunday.
Canceled the drill. On the maiden voyage.
Unbelievable, isn't it? It meant the crew was woefully unprepared, untrained in procedures, unaware of the davit's strength. Chaos ensued.
Give me an example of an underfilled boat.
Okay, lifeboat number 7, the very first one launched, starboard side, had space for 65 people, departed with only about 27 on board.
Less than half full.
The chaos, the fear, the inexperience, it meant valuable space and therefore valuable lives were just wasted. In the end, a mere 705 people were rescued in those lifeboats, out of over 2,200.
705, that's stark.
As this chaos is unfolding, you have this remarkable, profoundly poignant detail. The musicians.
Ah, yes. The band played on. Is that true?
It absolutely is. The Titanic's 8 musicians, led by Wallace Hartley. They started playing in the first-class lounge, then moved out onto the boat deck, providing this comforting, albeit surreal and heartbreaking, soundtrack to the disaster.
Right until the end.
Sources differ slightly, but reports say until shortly before the ship sank. Maybe into its final minutes, a final act of courage, of duty.
Do we know what they played last?
Speculation surrounds it. Likely either the hymn autumn or, perhaps more famously, Nearer, My God to Thee. None of the musicians survived. Their commitment remains one of the most powerful images.
Just incredible bravery.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the ship is sinking faster.
Yes. By 1 p.m., water is clearly visible at the base of the grand staircase. Already reaching E deck, which was way above the waterline normally, panic starts to really set in as the tilt becomes undeniable.
You hear stories about officers firing guns.
Yes, harrowing accounts. Male passengers apparently trying to rush lifeboat 14. 5th Officer Harold Lowe famously fired his pistol 3 times, reportedly into the air or alongside the ship just to maintain order. Desperate measures.
And the distress calls.
Getting more frantic. Phillips's messages reflect growing desperation. One noted the ship cannot last much longer. Then they became erratic. Then silent.
As the bow sinks, the stern rises.
Dramatically. Higher and higher out of the water, placing incredible, unthinkable strain on the ship's midsection. By about 2 a.m., the stern's massive propellers are visible high above the water, a monstrous silhouette.
Any boats left?
Only 3 collapsible boats left on the ship itself. 2 actually floated off as the deck went under and were later used by survivors. Only 1 was launched somewhat properly.
And Captain Smith?
Recognizing it was over, he reportedly released the crew. It's every man for himself. A chilling final order. He was last seen on the bridge, apparently calm. His body was never found.
Then the lights went out.
Around 2:18 a.m., flickered once, twice, then total darkness,
What?
plunging the ship and everyone into absolute blackness. Moments later, the sound.
The breaking.
Yes. The colossal vessel broke in 2, right between the 3rd and 4th funnels. The stress was just too much.
Sure, definitely broke apart before sinking completely.
Yes, that's confirmed by the wreck discovery. The bow section sank rapidly, pulling the front part down. Took about 6 minutes, maybe traveling 30 miles per hour to hit the ocean bottom.
And this
Momentarily settled back in the water. Then rose again, almost vertically. Hung there briefly, defiantly. Then its final plunge. Around 2 a.m., it disappeared.
And there's speculation it imploded.
Yeah. The theory is water pressure crushed the stern section, which still had trapped air inside, as it sank, shattering it further on its way down, explaining why the stern wreckage is so much more damaged than the bow.
And after the ship vanished, the people in the water.
unimaginably horrific. Hundreds plunged into that icy North Atlantic, screaming, crying, clinging to debris. The water was about -2 degrees C, 28 degrees Fahrenheit, well below freezing. Survival time was minutes. Hypothermia set in almost instantly.
Did lifeboats go back?
Most delayed. They were afraid of being swamped by desperate swimmers pulling the boats down. A terrible choice to have to make.
So people were dying just yards away from relative safety.
Yes. By the time some boats, notably Officer Lowe's after he'd redistributed passengers, rowed back about an hour later, almost everyone in the water was dead from exposure.
So the final count? How many died?
The final tragic count is stark and devastating. More than 1,500 perished.
1,500 souls. Just gone.
An enormous loss of life. And when you break down those numbers...
It shows the class disparity, right?
Profoundly. Besides the crew, who suffered about 700 fatalities, third-class passengers endured the greatest loss by far.
What were their numbers?
Of approximately 710 third-class passengers, only about 174 survived. That's a survival rate of roughly 25%.
25%. Compared to first class.
Over 60% of first-class passengers survived. It's a stark difference.
Now, there are myths about this, aren't there? Like third class being locked below decks.
Yes, those claims circulated immediately and persist. That steerage passengers were actively or deliberately prevented from reaching the boats. But subsequent investigations largely dispelled this idea of, locked gates being the primary reason.
So it wasn't outright malice. What were the real reasons for the low survival rate then?
Much more complex and systemic. First, Captain Smith's failure to sound a general alarm. Many in third class, located deep within the ship, simply didn't realize the seriousness of the situation until it was far too late.
No warning bell, no siren.
Nothing shipwide. Second, many women, particularly those with strong family ties, refused to leave their husbands and sons, chose to stay together. A heartbreaking choice.
Understandable, but tragic.
And third, simply navigating the ship. The Titanic was huge, complex. Finding your way from the lower levels, through unfamiliar corridors, up multiple decks to the boat deck, it was a challenge, especially in darkness and panic. Many likely arrived too late after most boats had gone.
So communication failures, social norms, the ship's own layout.
Yeah.
More than just locked gates.
Exactly. It speaks to societal structure and operational failures, rather than just simple villainy.
And then finally, rescue.
Yeah.
Carpathia.
Yes. Pushing its engines to the absolute limit, dodging icebergs itself, Captain Rostron steamed through the night, reached the disaster site around 3:30 a.m., over an hour after the Titanic went down.
First boat they picked up.
Lifeboat number 2. And over the next few hours, painstakingly, the Carpathia rescued all 705 survivors from the lifeboats, a fraction of those who started the voyage.
And Ismay, the White Star chairman, he was among them.
He was. He'd found space in Collapsible Sea, one of the last boats to leave, a decision that became incredibly controversial. He sent a very understated message back to the White Star offices.
What did it say?
Something like, "Deeply regret, advise you, Titanic sank this morning 15th after collision iceberg, resulting serious lost life. Further particulars later." Very formal, very restrained.
Wow. Understated indeed. And the Californian, did it show up eventually?
Yes, finally arrived around 8:30 a.m., having heard the news from another ship about 3 hours earlier. Too late to help with the initial rescue.
So Carpathia heads for New York.
Just before 9 a.m., with all survivors accounted for, Carpathia turned towards New York, flags at half-mast, arrived on April 18th to massive, anxious crowds lining the docks. The world was waiting, and the grim details started pouring out, igniting this global firestorm of grief, outrage, and a desperate demand for answers.
The public reaction must have been immense, instantaneous.
Oh, profound, a global phenomenon. And even though most who died were crew and third class, the fact that so many prominent wealthy families lost members, the Strausses, Astor, it magnified the tragedy in the popular mind.
Made it even bigger news.
Exactly. The glamour of the ship, its maiden voyage, the famous passengers, it cemented its place as a legend almost instantly, turned it from just an accident into this enduring parable.
And legends started forming right away. Heroes and villains.
Immediately. Heroes like Molly Brown, helping command a lifeboat, urging it to go back. Captain Rostron of the Carpathia hailed for his courage. But also villains.
Yeah.
Most notably Ismay. For surviving when so many women and children died. Finding a spot in a lifeboat, it haunted him for the rest of his life, fairly or unfairly.
And this intense desire for explanations, for blame, led to inquiries.
Right away, formal inquiries in both the United States and Great Britain. A reckoning was demanded.
The U.S. one was first, right? Led by Senator William Alden Smith.
Remarkably swift, started almost as soon as Carpathia docked. April 19th to May 25th, 1912. Interviewed over 80 people.
Key testimony.
Second Officer Charles Lightoller, the most senior survivor. His testimony was central. He notably defended his superiors, including Captain Smith's decision not to slow down, said it was standard practice.
But passengers told a different story.
Passengers testified about the general confusion, the terrifying lack of a general alarm leaving so many unaware, and the haphazard, chaotic lowering of the lifeboats, blaming the canceled drill and crew inexperience.
And the California, big focus there.
Huge scrutiny, especially its captain, Stanley Lord. His crew claimed they were about 20 miles away, saw a ship, thought it too small, tried Morse lamp, failed.
And Captain Lord himself.
He'd retired for the night, was told about rockets being seen, but crucially just told his officers to keep trying the Morse lamp. Didn't wake the wireless operator. By 2 a.m., they said, the mystery ship sailed away.
So what did the U.S. inquiry conclude?
Damning findings. Uncompromising. They sharply faulted the British Board of Trade, the regulators, for laxity of regulation and hasty inspection, pointed right at the insufficient lifeboat rules as a major cause of the awful fatality.
Blamed the regulators. What else?
Criticized Captain Smith for maintaining high speed after ice warnings, but their strongest criticism, saved for Captain Lord and the Californian.
What did they say about them?
The committee concluded the Californian was nearer than the 19 miles Lord claimed, that its officers and crew saw the distress signals and failed to respond in accordance with the dictates of humanity, international usage, and the requirements of law. A powerful indictment of inaction, suggesting they could have saved many, if not all.
Wow. Okay, then the British inquiry started.
A month later.
Yes, May 1912. Overseen, ironically, by the British Board of Trade itself, the agency the U.S. had just criticized.
Bit awkward.
You'd think. Presiding judge was Lord Mersey, highly respected. Despite 28 days of testimony, often rehashing the same ground, little new evidence about the events emerged.
What were the British findings?
They stated the loss was due to collision with an iceberg brought about by the excessive speed at which the ship was being navigated. Clear finding of fault on speed.
But what about Captain Smith?
Here's the big contrast with the U.S. Lord Mersey stated he was not able to blame Captain Smith. He was doing only that which other skilled men would have done in the same position. Essentially absolved him of individual blame for the speed, framing it as common practice. Interesting divergence. What about the Californian?
Just like the U.S., sharp rebuke for Captain Lord. The British inquiry claimed the Californian was even closer, maybe 5 to 10 nautical miles away, and stated unequivocally that she might have saved many, if not all, of the lives that were lost, making their failure seem even worse given that closer distance.
So both inquiries condemned the Californian's inaction, but differed on Captain Smith's culpability for speed.
Precisely. And that Californian controversy, it didn't end there, became this enduring maritime debate.
The Lordites.
Exactly. A dedicated group of Captain Lord's supporters believed he was unfairly scapegoated, campaigned to clear his name. They argued a third ship, maybe the illegal Norwegian sealer, the Samson, was actually between them and the Titanic.
How would that matter?
They argued the Californian crew didn't hear the rockets clearly, which they should have if they were only 5–10 miles away. And the Titanic crew saw a moving vessel. The Californian was stopped. So maybe they were looking at this other ship, the Samson, not the Titanic.
So the debate continues even now.
To this day. Where exactly was the Californian? We'll likely never know conclusively. Many experts now lean towards the 20-mile distance being more accurate, likely too far to reach Titanic before it sank anyway.
But Lord still gets criticized.
Yes. Even if he was 20 miles away, the criticism remains for his failure to take more decisive action once rockets were sighted. Not waking the wireless operator was seen as negligent, regardless of the exact distance. It was the inaction in the face of distress.
Okay, so despite the blame game and lingering questions, these inquiries led to actual change. Something positive came out of it.
Absolutely. Profoundly positive, historically transformative change. Both inquiries immediately proposed urgent safety recommendations.
Which has led to?
This is where the disaster fundamentally changed maritime safety forever. In 1913, directly because of the Titanic, the first International Conference for Safety of Life at Sea Solace convened in London.
Solace still exists today, right?
Absolutely. It was a monumental moment. International cooperation in the face of shared tragedy. A global agreement. This must never happen again.
What were the key rules they established?
Crucial life-saving rules. Still the bedrock today. First, every ship must have lifeboat space for every single person on board. No more tonnage calculations, enough seats for everyone, period.
Directly addressing the Titanic's biggest failure.
Exactly. Second, lifeboat drills required for each voyage, not optional. Ensure crew preparedness, passenger awareness, addresses the canceled drill issue.
Makes sense.
And third, because the Californian missed the calls, ships mandated to maintain a 24-hour radio watch, ensures distress calls are always heard, a game changer for communication.
Anything else?
Yes, the International Ice Patrol was established, also a direct result, still active today, run by the U.S. Coast Guard. Warns ships about icebergs in the North Atlantic shipping lanes, monitors iceberg drift.
So real, tangible changes came from this horror.
Absolutely. These regulations, born from the loss of 1,500 lives, fundamentally changed how ships were built, equipped, operated worldwide. Saved countless lives since. The Titanic's legacy is literally written into every ship's safety procedures.
Okay, so safety improves dramatically. But the ship itself, it's lying on the ocean floor. When was the Titanic discovered? That took a long time, didn't it?
Decades. Talk of finding it started almost immediately after it sank. But the technology just wasn't there. The deep ocean, the pressure, the sheer scale of the search area, it was impossible for most of the 20th century. Until the breakthrough, September 1st, 1985, a date etched in history.
Robert Ballard's expedition.
That's the one. Working with the French Institute Ifremer aboard the U.S. Navy research ship Nor, part of their mission was actually a cover for locating sunken nuclear submarines, but they used the remaining time to search for Titanic.
And they had new tech.
Crucially, yes, the Argo. This 16-foot unmanned submersible sled, remote-controlled with advanced cameras sending live images back to the surface, a true game-changer for deep-sea exploration.
How deep did they have to go?
Incredible depth, 12,500 feet. That's 2.4 miles down. Crushing pressure. They deployed Argo, patiently scanning the seabed.
And what did they see first?
Debris. Then, unmistakably, one of the Titanic's giant boilers. They knew they were close. Soon after, clear video showed the ship itself, lying upright, in two main pieces.
Two pieces, confirming it broke apart.
Absolutely confirming it. The bow section, remarkably recognizable, eerily preserved. But the stern section, severely damaged, twisted, mangled. A shocking contrast. That was the moment, the answer to when it was discovered.
And they found something strange covering it. Rusticles.
Yes, these weird, rust-colored, icicle-like formations hanging off the wreck. Scientists figured out they were created by iron-eating microorganisms literally consuming the ship's steel.
Eating the ship.
Slowly but surely. It highlighted the ongoing, irreversible decay. By 2019, expeditions noted shocking deterioration. Iconic features like the captain's bathtub seen in earlier dives were already gone, dissolving back into the ocean.
Wow. So the wreck itself is disappearing. Did finding it change the understanding of how it sank?
Massively. First, its location about 13 nautical miles from the distress position Captain Smith gave, added to the confusion of that night. But the biggest revelation came from examining the hull damage.
The long gash myth.
Shattered. Expeditions found no sign of that single long rip caused by the iceberg. That was the popular idea for decades.
So what did cause the flooding?
What scientists found was a series of thin gashes, almost like slits, combined with brittle fracturing of the steel hull plates and seams separating where rivets popped. Multiple points of failure along maybe 300 feet of the hull.
Brittle fracturing again, and weak rivets.
That became a major theory later. Examining wreckage, looking at builders' archives, led to speculation that low-quality steel, or more likely weak iron rivets used in certain areas, bow and stern where machines couldn't fit easily, might have failed under stress, snacked easily in the cold water on impact, exacerbating the flooding. A deeper technical reason for why it sank so quickly.
So finding the wreck wasn't just finding it, it rewrote the story of the sinking.
Completely. And sparked a whole new debate.
About the artifacts. Gravesite versus museum.
Exactly. Huge debate. Should it be left untouched as a grave for over 1,000 people? Or should items be recovered for their immense historical and educational value? Arguments on both sides.
Who started recovering things?
In 1987, a company later called RMS Titanic, Inc., RMST, with French help, began salvage operations, recovered about 1,800 artifacts initially.
Like what kind of things?
Everyday items, eyeglasses, a whiskey bottle, a leather valise that was surprisingly well preserved, more opulent things too. Some were famously featured in a live TV special. They even opened a safe on live TV.
I remember that. Didn't find much, did they?
Mostly soggy documents, yeah. but it fueled the public fascination.
Were there legal fights over who got to salvage?
Oh yeah, intense battles. Another company tried to claim ownership, but in 1994, a U.S. court granted RMST exclusive salvage rights, made them the official custodians.
And it kept bringing stuff up for exhibits.
Yes, continued retrieving artifacts, formed the basis for those hugely popular touring exhibits seen by millions. Permanent displays, too. But then came controversy.
Overselling the artifacts.
Exactly. Around 2000, RMST wanted to sell a large collection. Many saw that as violating the spirit of salvage, disrespecting the grave site. The court initially rejected it. Eventually, a complex deal was approved, but with strict conditions involving NOAA and the Justice Department, aiming to keep the collection together. Still, items went to auction, collectors paid huge sums.
Has salvage stopped now?
Largely, yes. Ethical concerns grew stronger. Preservation efforts became paramount, especially as the wreck decays and has suffered accidental damage from submersibles hitting it over the years.
Are there laws protecting it now?
Yes. The 2012 UNESCO Convention on Underwater Cultural Heritage applies, though the U.S. didn't sign it. But the U.S. passed its own RMS Titanic Memorial Maritime Act back in '86, treating it as a grave site, regulating activity.
And there was a recent attempt to stop an RMST expedition.
In 2023, yeah, the U.S. government tried to halt an RMST mission planning to retrieve items from inside the wreck, citing that act. RMST did go in 2024, their first mission in years. Due to the lawsuit, they didn't retrieve artifacts, but took millions of photos for a 3D model.
Did they find anything new?
They discovered part of the bow railing had collapsed and located a small bronze statue of Diana from the first-class lounge, not seen since Ballard's first dives in '86. So the story keeps evolving, legally, scientifically.
And this fascination led to tourism, people actually going down there.
Yep. Started in the late 1990s, niche industry. Early visitors paid like $36,000 a seat.
Wow, who could afford that?
Adventurers, the super wealthy. By the early 2020s, the price tag was up to around $250,000.
$250,000 for a trip to the bottom of the ocean.
The ultimate deep-sea adventure. But it had its own tragic echo of the past.
The Titan submersible disaster, June 2023.
A stark, modern reminder of the dangers. The Titan, an experimental submersible, imploded on its way down to the Titanic. Killed all 5 people on board, including Stockton Rush, the CEO of OceanGate, the company running the trip.
Just horrific. Underscored the risks are still very real.
Absolutely. Showed that even with modern tech, the deep ocean is unforgiving. And that human hubris, a theme from the original Titanic story, can still have devastating consequences today.
So, beyond the wreck, beyond the science, the Titanic is just this huge cultural icon, isn't it? It's a massive part of its legacy.
Undeniably, it's more than just history. Countless renditions, interpretations, analyses. They've transformed it from just an event into this timeless parable, embedded deep in our collective consciousness.
Books, obviously. Movies.
So many books. And iconic movies. A Night to Remember from 1958. Many purists consider that the most historically accurate film.
Right.
And then, of course,
James Cameron's Titanic, 1997. Huge.
Global phenomenon. Introduced the story to a whole new generation. That blend of romance, history, amazing special effects. It just captivated people. Still does.
TV shows, too.
Numerous projects. Julian Fellowes, the Downton Abbey creator, did a mini-series in 2012 for the centenary. The story keeps being retold, finding new audiences. Its themes, class, fate, hubris, resilience, they just resonate.
And museums dedicated to it.
Draw millions of visitors yearly. People want to connect with the story. Titanic Belfast opened in 2012 on the 100th anniversary, right on the old Harland and Wolff shipyard site where it was built. It's a massive tourist attraction now, a tangible link to its origins.
So, even as the wreck decays, the story won't.
Seems unlikely to fade from public imagination. It just continues to capture our fascination, reminds us of human ambition, its triumphs and follies, the power of nature, the mark tragedy leaves. It's a story that just endures.
Okay, so as we bring this deep dive to a close, let's just recap this incredible journey we've taken.
Right. We went from the Titanic's ambitious origins luxury, perceived invincibility, those fundamental design flaws.
Those uncapped bulkheads.
Right through its tragic end, the inquiries that followed, the profound life-saving changes to maritime safety.
SOLAS, the ice patrol.
Its rediscovery, which completely reshaped our understanding of how it sank, and its unwavering grip on our culture.
So the key takeaways. The unsinkable myth. Shattered.
Shattered by this complex mix. Design limitations, uncapped bulkheads, not enough lifeboats. coupled with a chain of human error speed, ignored warnings, communication failures,
The Californian situation, Phillips dismissing the warning.
and a flawed crisis response. Made worse by that canceled lifeboat drill, the unprepared crew.
And the loss of life, over 1,500 people, disproportionately affecting crew and third class.
Brutally highlighting the societal structures, the communication barriers of the time. But out of that horror came transformation.
The safety regulations. SOLAS, making sea travel fundamentally safer, a direct, enduring legacy.
Absolutely, and its discovery revealed critical new details, the real damage, thin gashes, brittle fractures, not one long rip, the possible role of weak rivets or steel, and sparked those vital debates about preservation versus salvage.
The debate's still going on.
Still evolving. And finally, it remains this powerful, resonant symbol, fueling art, science, even high-stakes tourism. It's a story that just keeps echoing.
It really does.
You know, the Titanic story isn't just history locked in the past. It feels like a timeless parable about human hubris, the limits of our technology against nature's power, and how tragedy, but also hope, can redefine our understanding of safety, our place in the world.
That's a great way to put it.
So, as the physical wreck continues that slow decay, consumed by the deep, it makes you wonder, doesn't it? What new lessons might the unsinkable ship still hold for us now, in our own era of rapid technological leaps and new frontiers of exploration?
A provocative thought to leave our listeners with. A question that continues to echo from the deep. Thank you for that incredible deep dive.
Thank you. It's a story that never fails to compel.